It wasn't a goal of mine. It wasn't, let's see how many I can get away with. It wasn't like that for me. Like I legitimately did not want to do it again. I legitimately had up, Nothing, no drug can ever equate to that experience. Like, there's nothing out there. It's just, your mind is just, well, for me, it was just gone. I mean, I killed him. I hit him in the head with a log, and he died right there, probably. I don't know exactly. It was dark. We were sitting there by a campfire. I hit him hard, and I hit him multiple times.
A 21-year-old woman storms out of her family home after an argument and vanishes without a trace. For 16 long years, her disappearance haunts a Michigan community and destroys her family. Then, in a twist no one sees coming, the truth emerges from the confession of a serial killer sitting in a Pennsylvania prison cell. This is the story of Ashley Marie Parlier. Ashley is born on a spring day in Battle Creek, Michigan, a mid-sized city known for its cereal manufacturing history and tight-knit community. She grows up in the Urbandale neighborhood with her parents, Russ and Shari Parlier, and her sister, Nicole. From an early age, Ashley's family notices she's different from other children her age. She's diagnosed with a mild intellectual disability that affects how she processes information and interacts with the world around her. Despite these challenges, Ashley possesses a sweetness that draws people to her. She's trusting, almost to a fault. She sees the good in everyone she meets. Her sister Nicole later describes her as having the innocence and outlook of a 12 to 14-year-old, even as she grows into adulthood. This childlike quality makes her especially vulnerable in ways her family constantly worries about. Ashley attends Battle Creek Central High School, where she works hard to keep up with her classmates. She's not the type to cause trouble or push boundaries. She follows rules. She respects authority. She wants to make her parents proud. After graduation, she manages to secure a job at a Taco Bell restaurant located in the 800 block of Capitol Avenue. For Ashley, this represents real independence. She earns her own money. She interacts with customers. She shows up on time and does her work reliably. At home, Ashley remains close to her family. Her father Russ is protective of both his daughters, but especially Ashley. He understands the world can be cruel to people who are more trusting than they should be. Her mother Shari shares these concerns. They've raised Ashley to be careful, to stay close to home, to avoid strangers. But Ashley is 21 years old now. She wants the experiences other young women her age have. She wants to date. She wants to feel normal. In early 2005, Ashley starts seeing someone. Her family doesn't know much about this relationship. Ashley keeps the details private, which isn't like her. She's always been open with her parents and sister, but this time she holds her cards close. The family assumes she's just exploring her independence, testing boundaries like any young adult would. By late spring of 2005, Shari and Russ begin noticing changes in their daughter. Ashley's clothes fit differently. Her face looks fuller. The signs are unmistakable to parents who know their daughter's body better than anyone. Ashley is pregnant. On the morning of June 12, 2005, Russ and Shari decide they can't ignore what they're seeing anymore. They need to talk to Ashley about the pregnancy they believe she's carrying. More importantly, they need to get her to a doctor. Prenatal care is essential, especially for someone with Ashley's medical needs. What starts as a concerned conversation quickly escalates into a heated argument. Ashley doesn't take the conversation well. Her parents aren't accusing her of anything. They're not angry. They're worried. They want to help. They want to make sure she and the baby she's carrying get proper medical attention. But to Ashley, it feels like an ambush. It feels like they're trying to control her life. She's an adult. She can make her own decisions. The argument grows more intense. Voices rise in the small family home. Ashley feels trapped. She feels like they don't trust her, like they don't think she's capable of handling her own life. Her disability has always made her feel different, less capable than others. Now her own parents are treating her like a child who can't take care of herself. Around mid-morning, Ashley makes a decision. She's leaving. She needs space. She needs to cool down and think. She grabs her purse. Inside is roughly $700 in cash she's saved from working at Taco Bell. She doesn't take much else. No extra clothes. No toiletries. She's not planning to be gone long. Just long enough for everyone to calm down. Ashley walks out the front door of the Urbandale home. She doesn't have a driver's license. She doesn't own a car. She doesn't even have access to one. She's on foot, which means she won't get far without help. Her parents watch her go down the street, her figure getting smaller as she moves away from the safety of their home. Russ and Shari stand in their doorway, conflicted. Should they follow her? Should they give her space like she clearly wants? They know Ashley. She's stubborn when she wants to be. Sometimes she needs time alone to process her feelings. They make a choice that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. They let her go. The first 24 hours pass without word from Ashley. This isn't entirely unusual. She stormed off before, though never quite like this. She stayed with friends overnight. She's needed her space, but she always comes home. She always calls. The Parlier try not to panic. They tell themselves she's fine. She just needs time. Nicole, Ashley's sister, tries to reassure her parents. Ashley is probably staying with someone from work. Maybe she's camping up at Houghton Lake, like some friends mentioned wanting to do. She'll show up when she's ready. The family gives her room to breathe, to work through whatever feelings she's processing. By the second day, concern starts creeping in. By the third day, that concern transforms into genuine worry. Ashley has never been gone this long without contact. Something feels wrong. Russ and Shari start making calls. They contact Ashley's co-workers at Taco Bell. No one has seen her. They reach out to the few friends Ashley has. Nobody knows where she is. The responses are, all the same, Ashley hasn't reached out to anyone. On June 19th, 2005, exactly 1 week after Ashley walks out of their home, Russ and Shari can't wait any longer. They contact the Battle Creek Police Department to file a missing person report. Officers respond to take down the details. They learn that Ashley left of her own accord after an argument. She's an adult. She had money with her. This complicates things from a law enforcement perspective. But the officers also learn about Ashley's intellectual disability. They learn she has no phone, no car, no way to travel far on her own. They learn she's likely pregnant, possibly 5 to 7 months along based on what her parents observed. They learn this behavior is completely out of character for her. Red flags start appearing everywhere. Before we continue with what happened that day, hit that subscribe button if you want to see justice served in cases like this. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? The initial missing person investigation kicks into gear. Officers check hospitals in the area. They check homeless shelters. They reach out to bus stations and taxi companies. Did anyone matching Ashley's description purchase a ticket or hire a ride? The answers come back negative. It's as if Ashley Parlier simply vanished into thin air the moment she walked away from her family home. Detectives start looking at Ashley's life more closely. They interview her recent boyfriend, the one the family believes might be the father of her unborn child. He tells investigators that Ashley told him she was pregnant. According to him, when she broke the news, he ended the relationship. He didn't want to be a father. He didn't want the responsibility. Investigators check his alibi for June 12th. It holds up. He's cleared as a suspect. The police expand their search radius. They focus on Houghton Lake, about 90 miles north of Battle Creek, after receiving multiple tips that Ashley might be camping in that area. Search teams comb through campgrounds. They interview people who were in the area around mid-June. Several witnesses come forward claiming they saw someone matching Ashley's description. Each tip gets investigated thoroughly. None of them pan out. The sightings can't be confirmed. As days turn into weeks, the case grows colder. Ashley's face appears on missing person flyers throughout Battle Creek and surrounding areas. Her story runs in local newspapers. Family and friends organize search parties, walking through wooded areas and parks, hoping to find some sign of her. They find nothing. The Parlier family finds themselves in an impossible situation. They're grieving someone who hasn't been declared dead. They're searching for someone who left no trail. They're hoping for a miracle while preparing for the worst. And as the investigation continues, they begin to notice something disturbing. Some people in their community start looking at them differently. Whispers begin. Rumors spread. Some people wonder if Ashley's family had something to do with her disappearance. After all, she left after an argument with her parents. The father, Russ Parlier, becomes the subject of quiet speculation. Could a father harm his own daughter? The thought is unthinkable to those who know the Parliers, but to others, it plants seeds of doubt. What investigators discover next pulls the case in a direction that makes finding Ashley even more complicated. The Battle Creek Police Department and Calhoun County Sheriff's Office establish a task force dedicated to finding Ashley Parlier. Detectives understand the urgency. A vulnerable young woman who is likely pregnant has disappeared without her medication, without proper support, without the resources to survive on her own for long. Time is critical. Lead investigators immediately focus on building a timeline of Ashley's last known movements. They determine she was last seen walking away from her residence in the Urbandale neighborhood on the morning of June 12, 2005. Multiple neighbors confirm seeing her leave the house on foot. She's wearing casual clothing. She's carrying her purse. She appears upset but not in immediate distress. Detectives fan out across the neighborhood knocking on doors, asking if anyone saw which direction Ashley went. They get conflicting reports. Some say she headed toward the main road. Others think she cut through a side street. One witness mentions seeing a young woman matching Ashley's description near a convenience store about 6 blocks from the Parlier home, but the timing doesn't quite line up. The investigation team pulls surveillance footage from every business within a 2-mile radius of the Parlier residence. They examine gas stations, convenience stores, fast food restaurants, anywhere that might have cameras pointed toward the street. The results are disappointing. Either the cameras weren't working, the footage has already been recorded over, or Ashley simply didn't pass through their field of view. Detectives turn their attention to Ashley's personal life. They conduct extensive interviews with her co-workers at the Taco Bell where she works. Everyone describes Ashley the same way: sweet, innocent, eager to please, maybe a little naive about how the world works. None of them report seeing anything suspicious in the days leading up to her disappearance. No one was following her. No one was making her uncomfortable. She seemed like her normal self. Her manager provides Ashley's work schedule. Detectives note she was scheduled to work on June 14th, 2 days after she disappeared. She never shows up for her shift. She never calls. This is completely unlike her. Ashley takes her job seriously. She's never missed a shift without notice before. The manager tried calling her at home, but when Russ and Shari answer, they tell him Ashley is missing. That's when he knows something is seriously wrong. Investigators interview Ashley's ex-boyfriend multiple times. His story remains consistent. Yes, he was seeing Ashley. Yes, she told him she was pregnant. Yes, he ended the relationship because he wasn't ready to be a father. But he insists he hasn't seen or spoken to Ashley since their breakup weeks before her disappearance. Detectives administer a polygraph examination. He passes. His alibis for June 12th and the surrounding days check out completely. He's at work when Ashley goes missing, with dozens of witnesses to confirm it. The investigation turns toward the Parlier family itself. This is standard procedure in missing person cases, but it doesn't make it any easier for Russ, Shari, and Nicole. Detectives need to eliminate them as suspects before they can move forward effectively. They interview each family member separately, looking for inconsistencies in their stories. Russ Parlier agrees to take a polygraph test. He has nothing to hide. He loves his daughter more than anything in this world. The thought that anyone would suspect him of harming her cuts deep, but he understands the process. He sits through the examination, answering every question truthfully. The results come back clear. Russ shows no deception. Investigators clear him as a suspect. Marie Parlier, however, refuses to take a polygraph. This raises eyebrows among some detectives. Why would a mother refuse to take a test that could help find her missing daughter? Sherry's reasons are her own. Maybe she doesn't trust the technology. Maybe she's insulted by the implication. Maybe she's simply too emotionally devastated to subject herself to that kind of scrutiny. Her refusal doesn't make her guilty, but in the court of public opinion, some people draw their own conclusions. Nicole cooperates fully with investigators. She provides them with everything she knows about her sister's life, her habits, her fears, her hopes. She shares that Ashley was functioning at the intellectual level of a preteen despite being 21 years old. This made her vulnerable to manipulation. This made her trust people she shouldn't trust. Nicole worries that someone took advantage of her sister's innocence. Detectives expand their investigation to include known sex offenders in the Battle Creek area. They cross-reference addresses with the route Ashley might have taken from her home. They interview anyone with a history of violence against women. They look at recent releases from local jails and prisons. Could someone have spotted Ashley walking alone and seen an opportunity? The theory is plausible, but without evidence, it leads nowhere. The forensic team has nothing to work with. There's no crime scene. There's no body. There's no physical evidence to process. Ashley simply walked away and never returned. Without any indication of foul play, without any witnesses to an abduction, without any concrete leads, the investigation begins to stall. Months pass with no breaks in the case. The Calhoun County Sheriff's Office keeps the case active, but resources get diverted to newer cases with fresher leads. Ashley's file sits on a detective's desk, periodically reviewed, but yielding no new information. The family remains hopeful, but that hope dims a little more with each passing day. By the end of 2005, Ashley Parlier has been missing for 6 months. There have been no confirmed sightings, no use of her social security number, no contact with family or friends. Her case appears on missing person databases. Her information gets entered into the National Crime Information Center. But beyond that, there's little investigators can do without new evidence or witnesses coming forward. The Parlier family refuses to give up. They continue distributing flyers. They maintain a presence on early social media platforms, sharing Ashley's photo and information. They organize anniversary vigils, hoping to keep her case in the public eye. They pressure police to keep investigating, to keep searching, to not let their daughter become just another statistic. Detectives working the case develop their own theories. Some believe Ashley met with foul play shortly after leaving home, that someone picked her up, harmed her, and disposed of her body in a location that hasn't been discovered. Others think she might have left willingly with someone she knew, someone who then harmed her. A few hold out hope she's alive somewhere, maybe suffering from amnesia or being held against her will. But as time passes, even the most optimistic investigators privately acknowledge the likely truth. Ashley Parlier is probably dead. The case file grows thicker with dead-end leads and cleared suspects. Psychics call offering their services. Anonymous tipsters report seeing Ashley in different states. None of these leads produce results. The investigation consumes countless hours of detective work, but the outcome remains the same. No answers, no closure, no justice. And that's where the case hits a wall that will last for 16 agonizing years. The years that follow Ashley's disappearance transform from active investigation to cold case status. The file never officially closes, but the reality is that without new evidence, detectives have nowhere to go. They've chased every lead. They've interviewed every person connected to Ashley's life. They've searched every location where she might have been. The trail has gone completely cold. For the Parlier family, these years represent a special kind of torture. They're stuck in limbo between hope and grief. They can't mourn Ashley properly because she hasn't been declared dead. They can't move forward because there are no answers about what happened. They're frozen in time, permanently trapped in June 2005. Russ and Marie Parlier age dramatically during this period. The stress of not knowing weighs on them constantly. Every phone call might be the one bringing news. Every knock on the door might be police with information. They jump at sounds they can't sleep through. The night. The not knowing eats away at them day by day, year by year. Nicole Parlier becomes her sister's voice. She refuses to let people forget about Ashley. She maintains social media pages dedicated to finding her sister. She contacts true crime podcasts and shows, hoping someone will feature Ashley's case. She reaches out to national missing person organizations. She does everything she can think of to keep Ashley's name out there, hoping someone, somewhere, knows something. The community's response to Ashley's disappearance shifts over time. Initially, there's an outpouring of support. Volunteers for search parties, donations to help with investigation costs, genuine concern for the family. But as months turn into years, that support naturally fades. People move on with their lives. They have their own problems. Ashley's case becomes old news. What doesn't fade for the Parliers is the suspicion some people continue to harbor about Russ. Despite passing a polygraph, despite being cleared by investigators, whispers persist. Some people in Battle Creek remain convinced that Ashley's father knows more than he's saying. The family feels these stares in grocery stores, hears the whispers that stop when they enter a room. It adds another layer of pain to an already unbearable situation. The investigation officially goes cold in 2006, roughly a year after Ashley disappears. The lead detective assigned to the case retires. The file gets passed to another investigator, then another. Each new detective reviews the material, but there's nothing new to pursue. The case becomes one of dozens of cold cases sitting in filing cabinets at the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office. Periodically, someone from the department pulls Ashley's file for review. Maybe there's a new technique available. Maybe a witness has come forward with information. These reviews happen in 2008, 2010, 2012, and 2015. Each time, investigators hope to find something previous detectives missed. Each time, they come up empty. DNA technology advances significantly during these years. Databases expand. Genetic genealogy emerges as a powerful tool for solving cold cases. The problem is that investigators have no DNA evidence from Ashley's case. There's no crime scene. There's no body. There's nothing to test or compare. Without physical evidence, even the most advanced technology can't help. The Parlier family experiences multiple false alarms during these long years. In 2007, remains are discovered in a wooded area about 40 miles from Battle Creek. The body is female, approximately the right age range, found in a location where Ashley, theoretically, could have traveled. The family prepares for the worst. DNA testing rules it out. The remains belong to someone else entirely. Relief and disappointment mix together in a confusing emotional cocktail. In 2009, a witness comes forward claiming they saw Ashley at a truck stop in Indiana back in June 2005, just days after she disappeared. According to this witness, Ashley was with an older man and she looked uncomfortable. Investigators tracked down surveillance footage from the truck stop, painstakingly reviewing hours of grainy video. They never find footage matching the witness's description. Another dead end. The family celebrates, if that's even the right word, grim anniversaries. 5 years since Ashley vanished. 10 years. Each milestone brings renewed media attention, fresh pleas for information, and hope that someone watching or reading will finally come forward with the piece of information that breaks the case open. The tips that come in lead nowhere. People like Harold David Haulman count on silence to cover their evil. Show them your voice stands for justice. Type "Justice for Ashley Parlier" in the comments and hit that like button. Russ and Shari's health deteriorates as the years drag on. The stress manifests physically. Russ develops heart problems. Shari struggles with depression and anxiety. Their marriage strains under the weight of unresolved grief. They retreat from their social circles, unable to engage in normal life when their daughter's fate remains unknown. They become shadows of the people they were before June 2005. Nicole watches her parents crumble. She's lost her sister and is slowly losing her parents too. She's in counseling, trying to process trauma that has no resolution. How do you grieve someone who might still be alive? How do you accept death without a body? How do you move forward when you're stuck in the past? The psychological toll is immeasurable. In 2016, the family receives what they think might be a breakthrough. A prisoner in Michigan claims he has information about Ashley's disappearance. He says he knows who killed her and where her body is located. In exchange for this information, he wants consideration for early parole. Detectives interview him extensively. His story falls apart under scrutiny. He has no actual information, just details he read in news articles and cobbled together into a false confession, hoping for a deal. It's cruel manipulation of a grieving family desperate for answers. The case gets featured on several true crime platforms during these years. Podcasts discuss Ashley's disappearance. Blog posts analyze the known facts. Online sleuths debate theories about what happened. Some of this attention helps keep the case alive in public consciousness, but it also spawns conspiracy theories and wild speculation that makes the family's pain worse. Some amateur investigators online become convinced that Ashley ran away and is living under a new identity somewhere. They point to the fact that no body has been found, that she left with cash, that she was upset with her family. But anyone who actually knew Ashley understands how implausible this theory is. She didn't have the capacity to successfully disappear and create a new life. She needed support. She needed help. She couldn't have managed it alone. By 2020, 15 years have passed since Ashley walked out of her family home. Russ and Sherry Parlier are now elderly, their health failing rapidly. The years of stress have taken an irreversible toll. They've dedicated a decade and a half to finding their daughter, and they're running out of time. They talk about Ashley constantly, wondering if they'll die without ever knowing what happened to her. Then in late 2020, something happens that will change everything. But it doesn't happen in Battle Creek, Michigan. It doesn't involve the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office initially. The break in Ashley Parlier's case comes from an entirely different investigation in an entirely different state, involving crimes that happened years after Ashley disappeared. But in December 2020, a breakthrough emerges from the most unexpected source: a serial killer's arrest 1,200 miles away in Pennsylvania. On December 27, 2020, in the early morning hours, police in Butler Township, Pennsylvania, make a grim discovery. In a wooded area, they find the body of 26-year-old Erica Schultz. She's been missing since December 4th. The circumstances of her death immediately point to homicide. Investigators have a suspect in mind almost immediately: a man named Harold David Haulman III. Haulman is 41 years old when police arrest him for Erica's murder. He's living a transient lifestyle, moving frequently, working odd jobs. But there's something in his background that immediately catches investigators' attention. He has a criminal history that includes a prior homicide conviction from decades earlier. Detectives learn that back in 1999, when Haulman was only 20 years old, he killed a man in Germany. He was living near Ramstein Air Base, where his family worked for the US government. The victim was Joseph Lawrence J. Whitehurst, a 21-year-old son of an Air Force colonel. Haulman confessed to hitting Whitehurst over the head with a club after a night of drinking.
I killed him. I hit him in the head with a log and he died right there probably. I don't know exactly. It was dark. We were sitting there by a campfire. I hit him hard and I hit him multiple times.
He was convicted in German courts, but the charges were eventually reduced and he was released after serving time. Now, more than 2 decades later, Haulman is back in custody for murder. But as investigators dig deeper into his life, they realize Erica Schultz might not be his only recent victim. They discover that another young woman, Tiana Phillips, disappeared in 2018 under suspicious circumstances. She was 25 years old when she vanished from McClure, Pennsylvania. Her body has never been found. Detective Sean Williams from the Luzerne County District Attorney's Office takes the lead on interviewing Haulman about these murders. The interrogation sessions are extensive. Haulman is calculated in how he responds. He's done this before, sat across from detectives, been questioned about killing someone. He knows how the process works. During one of these interview sessions in January 2021, something unexpected happens. Haulman starts talking about another woman. He mentions a name that means nothing to Pennsylvania investigators initially, Ashley Parlier. He says she went missing from Battle Creek, Michigan back in 2005. He says he knows what happened to her because he's the one who killed her. Detective Williams stops the interview. He researches the name. He discovers that Ashley Marie Parlier has indeed been missing from Battle Creek since June 2005. Her case has been cold for 16 years. He immediately contacts the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office in Michigan to inform them that a suspect in custody in Pennsylvania just confessed to their cold case homicide. For Detective John Pignataro at the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office, this phone call changes everything. He's familiar with Ashley's case. Every detective in the department knows about the young woman who vanished without a trace. Now, they potentially have answers. But they need to verify Haulman's confession. They need details only the killer would know. Investigators conduct extensive background research on Harold David Haulman III. They discover he lived in Battle Creek from the fall of 2002 until mid-2009. He was in the area at the exact time Ashley disappeared. He worked as a truck driver, which gave him mobility and access to remote locations. His family's government connections meant they moved frequently when he was younger, living in various locations around the world. Detectives also uncovered disturbing patterns in Haulman's history. He has a pattern of targeting vulnerable women. Erica Schultz was autistic and susceptible to manipulation. Tiana Phillips met him through online dating and was described by family as trusting. Ashley Parlier had an intellectual disability that made her function at the level of a preteen. Haulman apparently seeks out women who are less likely to recognize danger, who are easier to manipulate and control. Further investigation reveals that Haulman used dating apps to meet some of his victims. He was careful to avoid meeting their families. According to people who knew him during different periods of his life, he had a history of grooming behavior, building trust slowly, isolating victims from their support networks, creating situations where he had power over them. Before we get to the arrest that shocked everyone, share this video with someone who follows true crime. Stories like Ashley's need to be heard. Also, drop a comment. What's the weather like where you are? Forensic social media searches of Haulman's internet activity produced chilling results. He researched material related to serial killers. He looked up information about grave robbing. He studied famous murderers and their techniques. This wasn't someone who killed in the heat of passion or by accident. This was someone who thought about killing, planned it, researched it. In March 2021, Pennsylvania authorities arranged for Haulman to be flown to Michigan. The purpose is simple. They want him to show them where he left Ashley's body. Detectives from the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office accompany him as he directs them to an area in Newton Township, south of Battle Creek. It's remote, wooded terrain that sees little foot traffic. Search teams spend days combing through the location Haulman indicates. They use ground-penetrating radar. They bring in cadaver dogs. They methodically grid off the area and examine every square foot. Despite their extensive efforts, they find nothing. No remains. No clothing. No evidence. Haulman claims he buried Ashley in this area. But after 16 years, nature has reclaimed whatever might have been there, or he's simply unable to pinpoint the exact location. The failure to recover Ashley's body frustrates investigators, but it doesn't derail the case. Haulman has provided details about Ashley's death that weren't publicly known. He describes arguing with her at a home in Emmett Township. He says she told him she was pregnant with his child. He admits to knocking her unconscious, putting her in his vehicle, and driving her to the remote area. He confesses to striking her repeatedly in the head with a piece of wood until she died. He says he disposed of his blood-stained clothing afterward. Detectives cross-reference Haulman's account with what they know about Ashley. The timeline fits. He was living in Battle Creek when she disappeared. He had the means and opportunity. Ashley's intellectual disability would have made her an easy target for someone like Haulman. The pregnancy detail aligns with what Ashley's parents observed before her disappearance, and it provides a motive. When Ashley told him she was carrying his child and expected him to step up as a father, Haulman chose murder instead. On July 26, 2021, the Calhoun County Prosecutor's Office officially charges Harold David Haulman III with first-degree murder in the death of Ashley Marie Parlier. At a press conference announcing the charges, Calhoun County Sheriff Steve Hinckley addresses the media and the community. His message is clear. After 16 years, Ashley Parlier's family can know that justice is near. Let me be clear, this case is not over. For Nicole Parlier, the news brings complicated emotions. She finally has answers. She knows what happened to her sister. She knows who is responsible. But her parents, Russ and Shari, died in 2020, just months before Haulman's arrest. They passed away never knowing what happened to Ashley, never seeing anyone held accountable. Nicole must process her grief and relief simultaneously, mourning her parents while preparing for her sister's killer to face trial. When detectives brought Haulman in for questioning about Ashley's murder, what they heard confirmed their worst fears about the man sitting across the table. The interrogation of Harold David Haulman III takes place across multiple sessions. Detectives from both Pennsylvania and Michigan participate, comparing notes, coordinating their questions, building a comprehensive picture of a serial killer's methodology. Haulman sits in the interview room with an eerie calmness that unsettles even experienced investigators. Detective Sean Williams from Pennsylvania and Detective John Pignataro from Michigan lead the questioning. They've interviewed countless suspects over their careers, but there's something different about Haulman. He doesn't exhibit the nervous energy of someone caught in a lie. He doesn't show the remorse of someone who regrets their actions. He's matter-of-fact, almost clinical in how he discusses ending human lives. When the topic turns to Ashley Parlier, detectives watch Haulman's demeanor carefully. They're looking for any sign of deception, any indication that he's making false claims for attention. Some criminals confess to crimes they didn't commit, seeking notoriety, playing mind games with police, or trying to manipulate legal proceedings in other cases. But Haulman's details about Ashley are too specific, too accurate to be fabricated. Tell us about June 2005, Detective Pignataro begins. Tell us about Ashley Parlier. Haulman leans back in his chair. I was living in Battle Creek then, working as a truck driver. I knew Ashley. He pauses, choosing his words. She was different from other girls, younger in her mind than her age. That made things easier. How did you meet her? Williams asks. I don't remember exactly. Around town somewhere. She was friendly, trusting. We started seeing each other. Haulman says this without emotion, as if describing what he had for breakfast rather than how he met a woman he would eventually murder. Detectives press for specifics about their relationship. Haulman provides details that match what investigators know about Ashley's life in spring 2005. He confirms that Ashley kept their relationship quiet from her family. He admits this was intentional on his part. He deliberately avoided meeting her parents or sister. He understood that people who knew Ashley would be protective of her. He needed to isolate her to maintain control. What happened on June 12th? Pignataro asks directly. Haulman's expression doesn't change. Ashley came to see me. She was upset. She'd had a fight with her parents. She told me why. They figured out she was pregnant. They wanted her to see a doctor. He stops, and the silence hangs heavy in the room. Was the baby yours? Williams asks. Yeah. She told me a few weeks before, said she was pregnant and I needed to step up, be a father. Haulman laughs, actually laughs, at this memory. I wasn't going to be anybody's father. Detectives exchange glances. This is the motive. Ashley came to Haulman after leaving her parents' home, pregnant with his child, expecting support. Instead, she found her killer. Walk us through what happened, Pignataro says. Haulman describes the argument that escalated at a residence in Emmett Township. According to him, Ashley was emotional, crying, talking about how they could make it work, how her parents would help them. She wasn't demanding marriage or money, just asking him to acknowledge the child, to be present. For most people, this would be a difficult conversation. For Haulman, it represented a problem that needed eliminating. She wouldn't drop it, Haulman says. Kept talking about the baby, about responsibility, about doing the right thing. I got tired of hearing it. I hit her. She went down, unconscious. The detectives let him continue without interruption. They know that suspects sometimes provide more information when they're allowed to narrate events in their own words. I put her in my vehicle, Haulman continues. Drove out to a remote area, woods in Newton Township. She started coming to during the drive, started realizing something was wrong, started to panic. He says this with no visible emotion, as if describing a trip to the grocery store. What did you do when you got to the woods? Williams asks. I took her into the trees, found a piece of wood, a branch or log lying there. I hit her with it, in the head, multiple times, until she stopped moving, until she was dead. The room is completely silent except for the sound of the recording equipment. Detectives have heard confessions to terrible crimes before, but there's something particularly chilling about Haulman's detached delivery. He's describing the brutal murder of a pregnant woman, his pregnant girlfriend, and he might as well be reading from a phone book. What did you do with her body? Pignataro asks. Left her there, buried her, covered her with leaves and debris. I don't remember exactly where. It's been a long time. Haulman shrugs. I disposed of my clothing later, the stuff that had blood on it. Detectives ask about specific details. What Ashley was wearing, what she said during the argument, whether anyone else was present. Haulman's answers align with known facts about Ashley's disappearance. He describes her purse, mentions the cash she had with her. These are details that weren't widely publicized. Why are you telling us this now? Williams asks. It's a critical question. Haulman sat on this information for 16 years. Why confess now? Haulman considers the question. I'm already going down for the Pennsylvania cases. Life without parole. What's the difference if I tell you about Michigan too? Besides, he pauses, and something resembling a smile crosses his face. I wanted to see what it was like to kill someone. I told the police in Germany I killed Jay Whitehurst because of a fight, but that was a lie. I killed him because I wanted to know what it felt like. This statement sends chills through everyone present. In later interviews with media, Haulman elaborates on this disturbing admission. He describes killing as a pleasure, something that makes him feel a way that no drug ever could. He talks about the power, the control, the thrill. These aren't the words of someone who killed in self-defense or during a mental health crisis. These are the words of a predatory killer who enjoyed what he did. During the interrogation, detectives also ask about Haulman's other victims. He provides details about Tiana Phillips, whom he murdered in 2018, and Erica Schultz, killed in 2020. The patterns are consistent: vulnerable women, isolated circumstances, brutal violence. With Phillips, he even took photographs of her corpse and showed them to his wife, who inexplicably didn't contact police at the time. When the interrogation concludes, detectives have everything they need. Haulman's confession is recorded, detailed, and corroborated by evidence where possible. The lack of Ashley's remains is frustrating, but not fatal to the case. Haulman's knowledge of non-public details, combined with his presence in Battle Creek at the time and the matching timeline, provides sufficient evidence for prosecution. Throughout the entire interrogation process, Haulman never expresses remorse. He never apologizes. He never acknowledges Ashley as a human being whose life had value. To him, she was an inconvenience that he solved through murder. The unborn child she was carrying doesn't factor into his thinking at all. With a full confession documented, prosecutors move quickly to ensure Haulman faces justice for what he did to Ashley Parlier. The legal process for Harold David Haulman III becomes complicated by the fact he's simultaneously facing charges in 2 different states. In Pennsylvania, he's charged with 2 counts of murder for the deaths of Tiana Phillips and Erica Schultz. In Michigan, he faces first-degree premeditated murder charges for killing Ashley Parlier. Prosecutors in both states must coordinate their efforts to ensure justice in all 3 cases. In August 2021, Pennsylvania prosecutors offer Haulman a plea deal. They agree not to pursue the death penalty if he pleads guilty to both murders. For the families of Phillips and Schultz, this represents a practical compromise. A trial could take years. Appeals could drag on even longer. The death penalty, even if secured, might never be carried out. A guilty plea guarantees Haulman dies in prison. On September 21, 2021, Harold David Haulman III stands before a Pennsylvania court and pleads guilty to the murders of Tiana Phillips and Erica Schultz. The judge sentences him to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. He's 42 years old. He will spend the rest of his natural life behind bars. At the sentencing hearing, Haulman maintains the same disturbing equanimity he displayed during interrogations. He refuses to address the court. He expresses no remorse for his actions. He won't even look at the families of his victims who sit in the courtroom, desperate for any acknowledgement of the pain he's caused. His complete lack of empathy confirms what investigators already knew. They're dealing with a genuine psychopath. The sisters of Tiana Phillips and Erica Schultz deliver victim impact statements. They describe the holes left in their families. They talk about holidays without their loved ones, birthdays that pass unmarked, futures that will never happen. Toshia Feaster, Tiana's older sister, speaks through tears about never getting to see her sister grow old, never getting to be aunts together. The emotional devastation fills the courtroom. With the Pennsylvania cases resolved, attention turns to Michigan. The Calhoun County Prosecutor's Office proceeds with charges against Haulman for Ashley's murder. However, there's a complication. Haulman is now serving life without parole in Pennsylvania. He cannot be released. Michigan prosecutors must arrange for him to be temporarily transferred to their jurisdiction to face trial. In December 2022, Haulman is extradited to Michigan. On December 14th, he appears via Zoom for his arraignment in Calhoun County District Court. The judge reads the charges: first-degree premeditated murder in the death of Ashley Marie Parlier. Haulman enters a plea of not guilty. The judge denies bond, citing that proof is evident, and the defendant represents a flight risk and danger to the community, though Haulman is already serving life in prison and has nowhere to go. Nicole Parlier attends the arraignment virtually. Seeing Haulman's face for the first time, the man who killed her sister and destroyed her family, triggers a flood of emotions she's been holding back for 17 years. This is the person who took Ashley away. This is the person who caused her parents to die with broken hearts and unanswered questions. This is the face of evil that haunted her nightmares for nearly 2 decades. Over the following weeks, prosecutors and defense attorneys negotiate. The evidence against Haulman is substantial: his detailed confession, his presence in Battle Creek at the time, his pattern of targeting vulnerable women, corroborating details only the killer would know. Defense attorneys recognize that taking this case to trial is likely futile. Haulman has already confessed, publicly, on record, with specific details. On February 1st, 2023, in a significant development, Haulman changes his plea. He agrees to plead guilty to second-degree murder instead of first-degree premeditated murder. This plea agreement likely results from negotiations between prosecutors and defense attorneys. By accepting a second-degree murder plea, prosecutors avoid the time and expense of a trial while still guaranteeing Haulman receives significant additional prison time. The guilty plea hearing takes place in Calhoun County. Haulman admits in open court that he killed Ashley Parlier in June 2005. He confirms the details of his confession: the argument, the assault, the drive to Newton Township, the murder itself. Judge Tracy Tomac accepts the plea and schedules sentencing for April 10, 2023. As part of the plea agreement, Haulman agrees to continue working with authorities to locate Ashley's remains. This is critically important to Nicole and the Parlier family. While they now have answers about what happened, they still don't have Ashley's body. They can't give her a proper burial. They can't visit a grave. The lack of physical remains leaves their grief unresolved in a fundamental way. Between the guilty plea and sentencing, investigators make additional attempts to search the Newton Township area based on Haulman's directions. They expand the search radius. They use advanced technology. But 17 years have passed since Ashley was killed and left in those woods. Weather, animals, vegetation growth, all of it has transformed the landscape. Despite everyone's best efforts, Ashley's remains are never found. April 10, 2023 arrives, the day Harold David Haulman III will be sentenced for murdering Ashley Parlier. The courtroom in Battle Creek fills with people who loved Ashley, people who have waited nearly 18 years for this moment. Nicole Parlier prepares to deliver a victim impact statement that she's been writing in her head for almost 2 decades. Nicole stands before the court and addresses Haulman directly, though he refuses to meet her eyes. Her statement is powerful, raw, and devastating. 18 years ago, you stole my life, destroyed my family, and started what would turn into a lifetime of ridicule, hatred, and heartache for my parents. They died in 2020 with no answers, no justice, and crushed by the loss of a child and grandchild. She describes how the investigation initially focused on her father, how Russ Parlier, an amazing dad who would never hurt his daughter, had to endure dirty looks and whispers while knowing something horrific had happened to Ashley. She talks about how her parents lost connections and retreated into themselves, how they lived with the constant wonder and pain. Meanwhile, you lived your life, knowing what you did, and said nothing while you watched our lives crumble around us. Nicole continues, her voice breaking with emotion. She addresses what Haulman took from her personally. I was psychologically tormented when I lost my sister and have been in counseling for over a decade. I continue to search for her and talk to detectives and media right up until you murdered her, named FBI agents and everyone else I could think of. Nicole speaks about what Ashley lost: the chance to experience a wedding, the birth of a nephew, future family vacations, being there when her parents died. She speaks about the child Ashley was carrying. The nephew or niece Nicole never got to know. My sweet, naive sister didn't know you're evil, Nicole says. I have no doubt that she loved you and would have raised her child with so much love. There are days, I swear, I can hear the argument the two of you had. I can picture everything she would have said to you, her pleading for you to step up and be a man and a father like our dad was in our lives. She describes Haulman's pattern of grooming women, purposely avoiding meeting their families, targeting vulnerable people who couldn't recognize danger. She talks about how Ashley, with her intellectual disability and trusting nature, never stood a chance against someone like him. You murdered my sister, but you killed so much more, Nicole concludes. You stole a piece of us every day since the day she went missing, until the day we all die. The courtroom is silent, except for the sound of people crying. Even hardened law enforcement officers in attendance find themselves moved by Nicole's words. She's speaking not just for herself, but for her deceased parents, for Ashley, for the unborn child, for everyone whose lives Haulman destroyed with his violence. Then something remarkable happens. Toshia Feaster and other family members of Haulman's Pennsylvania victims stand up in the courtroom. They've traveled from Pennsylvania to Michigan to support Nicole. They understand her pain in a way no one else can. They are, as Nicole later says, the only 2 other girls in this entire world that know exactly how I feel. The presence of these women united by their grief, connected by their shared experience of losing sisters to the same killer, provides a powerful moment of solidarity. They hold hands, they cry together. They stand as a testament to the ripple effects of murder, the way one person's violence destroys multiple families, multiple communities. When it's time for sentencing, Judge Tracy Tomac addresses the court. She acknowledges the severity of Haulman's crimes, his lack of remorse, his predatory nature, and the immeasurable harm he's caused. The maximum sentence for second-degree murder in Michigan is life in prison. Judge Tomac sentences Harold David Haulman III to 37.5 to 60 years in prison for the murder of Ashley Parlier. With his existing life sentence in Pennsylvania, this additional time is largely symbolic. Haulman will never be free again. But the sentence matters to Ashley's family. It means Michigan officially holds him accountable. It means Ashley's death is recognized by the justice system. It means her life mattered. Haulman is given an opportunity to speak. He declines. He has nothing to say to the court, to Nicole, to anyone. His silence is one final act of cruelty, denying the victims' families even the small comfort of an apology he doesn't mean. After sentencing, Haulman is transferred back to Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, where he's currently incarcerated. He's serving multiple life sentences, plus the additional Michigan time. He will die in prison. There will be no parole hearings, no possibility of release, no second chances. The case has broader implications beyond just Haulman's conviction. Calhoun County Prosecutor David Gilbert tells media, "If you think there's one person dead in Germany, 2 dead in Pennsylvania, 1 dead here, there's a possibility of others. Yes." Investigators believe Haulman may have killed more women during the years he was active, particularly during his time as a truck driver with access to interstate travel. Law enforcement agencies in multiple states review cold cases of missing or murdered women, looking for any connections to Haulman. His transient lifestyle, his time living in various locations due to his family's government work, his truck driving career, all of it gave him opportunity and mobility. If there are other victims, their families deserve answers too. For Nicole Parlier, the sentencing brings a complicated sense of closure. She finally has justice for Ashley. She knows who killed her sister and why. She's seen that person held accountable in a court of law. But she still doesn't have Ashley's body. She still can't visit a grave. "I have to take my power back, and that's one way I can do it," Nicole says after sentencing. "Say we don't need that." She's making peace with the possibility that Ashley's remains may never be recovered, that the woods of Newton Township will keep their secret. It's not the ending she wanted, but it's the ending she has to accept. In August 2024, Detective John Pignataro receives recognition for his work on the Ashley Parlier case. The Calhoun County Sheriff's Office honors him for his dedication, perseverance, and unwavering commitment to justice. His tireless efforts and exceptional investigative abilities brought closure to a community that waited nearly 2 decades for answers. He set a new standard for excellence in cold case investigations. The Ashley Parlier case demonstrates the importance of never giving up on cold cases. For 16 years, Ashley's file sat in a cabinet, seemingly unsolvable. Then a break came from an unexpected source: a serial killer's arrest in another state for different crimes. It shows that justice can come years or even decades later, that the truth can emerge when investigators refuse to stop looking. Ashley's story also highlights the vulnerability of people with intellectual disabilities. She was targeted specifically because of traits that made her trusting and naive. She didn't recognize danger until it was too late. Her case has prompted discussions about protecting vulnerable populations, about recognizing predatory behavior, about the responsibility society has to look out for those who can't fully protect themselves. The Parlier family has channeled their grief into keeping Ashley's memory alive. They share her story not to exploit her death, but to honor her life. They want people to know Ashley was more than a victim. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, a person with hopes and dreams who deserved to grow old. Nicole continues to advocate for other families dealing with missing loved ones. She understands the unique torture of not knowing, the way it prevents healing, the way it freezes families in time. She reaches out to other families in similar situations, offering support, sharing her experience, letting them know they're not alone in their pain. The murder of Ashley Marie Parlier represents one of the most heartbreaking cases in Michigan's criminal history. A young woman, pregnant and vulnerable, trusted the wrong person and paid with her life. For nearly 2 decades, her family lived in agonizing uncertainty, not knowing if Ashley was alive or dead, suffering or at peace. The truth, when it finally emerged, confirmed their worst fears, but also provided the answers they desperately needed. Harold David Haulman III remains incarcerated in Pennsylvania, serving multiple life sentences for his crimes across 3 different jurisdictions spanning more than 2 decades. He's now 45 years old. He will never walk free again. He will grow old behind bars, eventually dying in prison, a fate he chose through his own actions. Ashley's body has never been recovered from the woods of Newton Township. Searches continue periodically when resources allow, when new technology becomes available, when there's hope that the earth might finally yield what it's hidden for so long. But as years pass, the likelihood of finding her remains diminishes. The woods have reclaimed whatever Haulman left there in June 2005. Nicole Parlier continues to honor her sister's memory. She speaks about Ashley not as a cautionary tale, but as a reminder that behind every crime statistic is a real person with a real family who loves them. Ashley was someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone's friend. She worked hard. She tried her best. She deserved so much better than what happened to her. The case serves as a reminder that cold cases are never truly closed. Evidence can emerge years or decades later. Technology advances. People's circumstances change, leading them to come forward with information they previously kept secret. Detectives who refuse to give up, who continue reviewing old files, who follow up on new leads, these are the people who bring justice to families who have waited far too long. Ashley's story also demonstrates the interconnected nature of serial crimes. Haulman's arrest for murders in Pennsylvania directly led to solving Ashley's case in Michigan. Without Erica Schultz's body being discovered, without Haulman being arrested and interrogated, Ashley's case might still be unsolved today. This is why law enforcement agencies must communicate across jurisdictions, share information, and recognize patterns that might connect seemingly unrelated cases. The Parlier family's journey from hope to grief to devastating answers spans nearly 18 years. Russ and Shari died without knowing what happened to their daughter. A tragedy within a tragedy. But Nicole survived to see justice served, to hear Haulman admit his guilt, to watch him be sentenced for taking Ashley's life. It's not the closure she wanted, but it's the closure she got. As of now, investigators continue to look at other unsolved cases that might be connected to Haulman. His time as a truck driver, his transient lifestyle, his history of targeting vulnerable women, all of it suggests there could be more victims. Law enforcement agencies remain vigilant, hoping that other families might finally get answers about their missing loved ones. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into cases that demand justice. Ashley Parlier's story reminds us why these cases matter, why we must never stop seeking the truth, why we must advocate for the vulnerable, why we must remember the victims as people, not just names in case files. Drop a comment. What cold case do you think deserves more attention? What case has stuck with you over the years? And share this video so Ashley's story reaches others, so her memory lives on, so people understand that behind every unsolved case is a family still waiting for answers. Thank you for watching, and remember, justice may be delayed, but it should never be denied.